I don't have my clip, so yeah. From being shot at by pellet guns in a clown costume for Leon's to almost choking on tobacco spit and defying the laws of gravity as a hockey mascot, 6 city adventures in radio hosting, Fearless Fred, if that is his real name, has come to understand what it takes to make it from the ground up. Now, one of Toronto's most well-known personalities, his anecdotes of daily life endeavors are joked about on air and give credence to how he can make things look easy, yet ensure you know it's not. He's humbled by his Steve Young Award, coupled with his experiences for Grind to the Top, comfortable celebrating, we're 7 years now, Q107. Let's not forget that Fred was the voice for all of us Gen Xers during his career at Toronto's Q102.1 The Edge. He's the man behind Mud79's Star Wars Meets Platoon podcast, endless giver to children's wish, push-up hero, man more in love with his Superman and Captain America tank tops. Welcome to the show, Mr. Fearless Fred.
And I'm wearing a hoodie, and then I'm not.
And now you're with the hoodie. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was gonna message you earlier and go, what tank top you wearing? We gotta coordinate.
No, that's summer attire. I wore a tank top. I was in San Diego at San Diego Comicon, and I did an interview, and I wasn't expecting to do an interview, and then it went online, and my wife texted me, "Why are you wearing that?" And it was like, it's hot because it's San Diego.
It's San Diego.
It's hot, San Diego. Man.
Yeah.
Is San Diego Comic-Con as great as it's made out to be, or better, or worse?
What's wild is we were there during the writer-actor strike, right? Okay. So we were there. The strike was on.
So not many.
And dude,
people.
even then, it was insane. It was insane. Really? Yeah. So like, I can only imagine how much crazier it is when it's full tilt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I go to the Toronto one every year. It's okay.
It's okay. It's a good time. I'll be there at the one like 2 weeks, and then again in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother. Well, you know, I mean, my brother Andy. Andy used to go. So with AH Comics and stuff all the time. So.
But, why is he not doing more stuff? He's so talented.
He's amazingly talented. Yeah. He's incredibly talented. Yeah. He should be doing more stuff. Andy, I know you're listening because you do the intro and outro. Do more stuff. Fearless Fred says, do more stuff. And now all 20 of our subscribers are listening and saying, who's this Andy person?
Yeah, he's very talented.
Yeah, we'll put a link down there for you.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have one of our most famous questions that we ask everybody, notably with Dave Genn from 5440 we recorded with last night, asked him the same question. Is your house haunted? Now don't answer yet. You in September 2021, specifically on Twitter, says, and this relates to us, and I quote, "So, does having a ghost in your house add to the resale value? Legitimately, if you're a real estate agent, do you highlight the ghost as a weird selling feature? Like when they say an unfinished basement is a good thing?" End quote.
Yeah.
So you got 2 real estate agents here. Ask the question.
Does it improve the value? Like, legitimately, does it increase the value?
Corey.
I think it's cool. For sure.
But like, if somebody's coming in and looking, will you bring it up, or will you like gloss over it? Or do you base it like, if they're like wearing a pentagram shirt, are you gonna make sure to bring that up?
I'd probably spin it as a look how much money you're gonna save on security systems, kind of idea, right? You'll never feel alone living in this cozy home, kind of gist, right? So yeah, I do this for a living. Come on.
All we do is spin stuff, so we'd make it work.
It's a job.
Sure.
So it actually helps.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how you spin it, but
we might suggest a paranormal home inspection if they're really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You could get it like smudged or whatever it is. I don't know what the appropriate term is, where they come and they got the sage and they go around and they like have a priest to do the thing that they exercise the home.
I believe that's called. No, I'm thinking of gaslighting, but no.
Something along those lines.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Snake oiling. That's it.
Yeah, snake oil salesman. There we go. Got to get into that racket.
Man. I mean, listen, anybody listening, all 20 of you that listen, if this is what you do for a living, actually, please reach out. I'm really interested. I'd like to know, like, we actually, I won't name them, We have at least 2 agents I know in our office that have hired people to cleanse a house before. I have talked to them about it. I'm obviously not going to say who they are. So, but we actually have at least 2 of them that have done that.
It
So,
is
yeah,
a thing. It is a thing.
yeah.
Bless this,
Wow.
literally blessing this house, as it
Wow.
were. Yeah.
That sounds like a reality show waiting to be made.
Well,
Like, just think
paranormal
about it,
home
that's like a niche. That is a niche that needs to be like properly not exploited, documented. We'll
Explore.
say.
you got
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got you got to find a different way because there was a show called Paranormal Home Inspections. And
Really?
it was like the love it or list it dichotomy thing where is this, they would bring in the paranormal investigator and then they would bring in a home inspector, and the home inspector would say, no, the sound you're hearing is just from the air moving through the pipes, the expansion contraction of the metal, and a ding ding, and that's what it gives you, and you think you hear a clock because grandma had a clock 80 years ago. No, it's honestly the galvanized piping in your house.
That's
Like it's,
amazing.
yeah, it was great. Yeah, I watched it all the time.
That's a fantastic show.
Yeah,
Man,
so
I
let's
feel
bring
like I
that
need
back.
to watch more television. I'm just watching the wrong things. I'm watching stupid nerd shows is what I'm watching. I gotta readjust my priorities here.
Stay in the groove.
Okay, in the
Be
groove.
you. You
What
stay
I've been
you.
doing has been working okay for me so far. So
Right,
maybe I
yeah,
should,
I wouldn't be
yeah,
complaining.
maybe I won't make a lane change at this point.
Stay, if you take some time off, we do have March break coming up, but
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Now, do you want me to talk about my haunted house?
Do you want to talk about your haunted house?
I grew up in a house that was haunted.
Oh
So
yeah,
let's
then
talk about a
definitely.
haunted house. The
Dude, I
people
was
need to know.
when we lived in Belgium till I was 12, and we lived in this house that was like 280 years old. Um,
It's a new
to
build.
be
It's a
honest,
new build. Yeah,
yeah, a new build. I do
yeah,
wonder
yeah.
though sometimes if it was like actually 180 years old, and I've just screwed it up in my head that it's 280 years old. But either way could work because it had like that European red brick. It was out in this small little village called Erchy, which is in the southern portion of Belgium. And it's a big farming area, lots of plains. And there was when the I do know that the Germans executed like 50 prisoners of war in the basement of the home.
Oh wow,
So like
wow.
there was a mass
That's
execution of people in the basement. And that's the thing is like you don't know what happened. We only know what happened then because the house was actually abandoned for about 50 years. And then this family came in. This family from Italy came in. They were like it was in the 1920s. They moved into this house. They immigrated to Belgium from Italy. They renovated the home. They made it their family home and they looked after it. And then the war broke out. And because where this house was situated was on like sort of like the top of a hill, like not like a big hill, but like sort of a rise.
House on Haunted
And
Hill.
this house was up on top, and there were two portal windows on facing south and two portal windows facing north. So you had this really great wide view of the
Yeah.
surrounding area. And the Germans used that house as a command post for the whole area. And there was a massive German base about 20 kilometers to the southwest, no southeast. And that is now shaped. That's now NATO headquarters. That where that main base was.
Wow.
But our house was up farther to the northeast. And so that house was like the command post for it. And when the Canadians were coming in and advancing through that plain, the Germans were falling back. And as they were falling back, they were killing all their prisoners so they didn't have to take them and slow their retreat. So they killed all the prisoners in the basement. And my dad, and the weird thing is I never really talked to him much about it, but we were talking about it just over Christmas. Like my parents were visiting from out west, and they were here, and I was talking, and I remember I talked to my dad because they executed everyone in the cellar. It wasn't a basement; it was a cellar, and so there was a door that went down into the cellar, and the microwave stand was in front of the door with the wheels locked, and it was like the 80s, the giant steel microwave that
But in the
weighed like
basement, your microwave was in the.
no, it
Oh,
was
the
in
door to
front
the
of the
cellar in the
door,
main.
so the door
In the
couldn't
main.
open. You
Okay,
couldn't
yeah,
get down there.
yeah.
And so I asked him about that, like what was the deal with that, and he's like, I went into that basement once, and I never went back in. And my dad is like,
Well, that's when we found out the microwave was haunted.
Yeah. We microwave ghosts.
We just put it there. It just
So
made sense.
he's like the hardest dude. My dad's like the hardest dude. Like Cape Breton coal mining stock,
Yeah,
five brothers, played with dead rats as a child. Like that's what it was. That they were like sterner stuff than me. And when he said, he goes, I went down there and he goes, I've never felt anything like what I felt in that basement before or since in my entire life.
Did you ever go down like as a kid?
No,
Like
I was
like,
never even allowed in. I never even went
wow.
in. So
Wow.
I never got to go down in.
How do you
And
keep that inside for 12 years?
Yeah, no, dude, like that's like we moved to Canada in 1991. And this is the first time he's ever even talked about it.
Wow.
He goes, I went in there once and I was down there for like 15 minutes trying to move some stuff around because he planned on putting putting his tools and building like a little workshop down there for himself. And he goes, at first it wasn't so bad. I thought it was just the temperature. And then he told me also there was also this is the thing about Europe. This is the thing about not just Europe. This is the thing about anywhere where people have lived for a long time in big built up communities. Tunnels. He said that the landlord said there was a tunnel that connected from the cellar of that house to the church down in the village, like about 15-minute walk away. And so he goes, I put the microwave there because I didn't want you guys going in there because it was a bad vibe. They said that the tunnel had been sealed up since like the 60s, but at the same time, who knows? So he goes, I put the microwave in there so that if anybody did like get into the church, go to the tunnel, try and get into her house, they weren't going to be able to get into the kitchen without making a lot of noise. I was like, okay. But my only real weird experience in that house for me was like I was sitting, so the staircases were like sort of stacked on top of each other like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is the main floor, second floor, attic. And the attic had been like converted and like finished. Like they put carpeting in, painted it up. They made it look all very nice. And that was where my room was and my sister's room were in the attic. And so
like good
I was
slaves.
yeah, I was sitting at the top of the one flight of stairs here. Okay. And then the stairs above were not carpeted. They're still like wood. And I heard somebody like coming down the steps wearing like boots. And it was like hard boots, like
Military
good
style.
quality, military, like good boots. And then when they're coming, it was like drunk, drunk, drunk. And then the door unlatched and opened up. And then I ran downstairs. I was freaked out.
That's it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. And the thing was, is I was like, the Nintendo on its little TV was sort of like right by the bottom of that staircase. And it was there because my parents didn't want me like playing video games all night. So it was that there so that way they could hear me if I was playing video games. So I was going over to play on the Nintendo. And then I heard the tuk, tuk, and I was like, ah! So I chose fear over video games. So that's how you know it was real.
Fear over video games. Yeah, that was God, that was a 90s
that is probably
90s band, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the most interesting house tale I've ever heard, I think.
It was the weirdest thing. And to this day, like I can remember the sound of the boots. Now it's also possible that my brain has embellished, as brains often do, but it was the door unlatching and opening that set me off.
Yeah.
The history of that house, yeah, who knows, right?
I like to envision that it was like those German officer boots of the 1940s, the Hugo Boss ones, the heavy seat, like the rider crop boots, like gunk, gunk, gunk.
Just stuck somewhere in time. You know, residual energy. Though, like, just
when you think about it, like there's like that whole idea of like the electromagnetic spectrum and how we really only can perceive like 1% of what's actually going on. And you wonder if like it's possible that like energy gets imprinted and there's sort of like something like beyond time. Like I believe that all of these things have like a legitimate scientific explanation, be it pipes that our home inspectors are going to figure out, or whether there's something else that we just don't understand just yet. It's like if you went back in time to like ancient Greece and tried to explain how a radio works. And he'd be like, the sound is in the air. I'd be like, show me the sound. I'm like, I can't. But you gotta trust me.
Just trust
there.
me. It's there.
It's there. Like they talk about that in like Superman comics, how Superman can see radio waves and data streams and all that. And so it's like, imagine what it's like with him for Wi-Fi. But there's probably something going on that we just haven't figured out yet. Someone will figure it out at some point.
That was kind of always my theory, which is like, what's the first law of thermodynamics is entropy.
Energy can be neither created nor destroyed.
That's the second law. First law is entropy. Second, I think it's kind of entropy, right? But forgive me, I'm not a physicist. But that's the thing.
You know more than I do.
Yeah, I'll take it. We are electrical systems, right?
Yeah.
That's how we work. What happened? It's got to go somewhere. And when you spend decades and decades of time in a certain electrical form, maybe I'm just saying maybe that form maintains itself as a residual energy. That's what we experience. Right?
I was just reading about like there's quantum physicists that are like trying to figure out the idea of it's this idea that your brain and your thought patterns create a bubble reality.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting some
cool, and it gets going. I'm like, I don't even.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It makes for a tough segue into our questions.
Go ahead. Give it up.
Because I wanted to get into the radio stuff, but that's just fascinating.
Radio's electricity. It all works.
There you go. That's a good segue right there.
Yeah.
So tell us about just the early days of your career, some of your first on-air experience, where you were at the time.
What's funny is I can remember the exact moment that I decided I wanted to be on the radio. I can remember I was in my because when I was a little kid, we went and we did a tour of a radio station. It was an armed forces network station. This was when we were still living in Belgium, and it's like the military radio, and we went there. And then for a school project, we had to do these little goofy radio things. And then when I was in high school, we had radio club.
Okay.
And radio club in high school was you got a day where you did music either from 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. when classes started, and then noon, like for the lunch hour. And those were the two spots that you could do, lunch hour or whatever. And you'd play the music that was on in the PA system in the hallways. And so there was a teacher, Mr. Gosman. He was the guy that was in charge of it. And it was always funny because the beginning of the year, there'd be like, you would get one lunch hour or one pre-morning thing, like every month. But by the end of the year, you'd be doing like 2 or 3 lunch hours a week because like everybody would just stop doing it. Yeah. So I was in radio club from the get-go. I was super stoked to do it. And I was in the 11th grade, and I called to request Tool on the radio station in Edmonton, and the announcer, her name was Goldie Rocks. It was a Thursday because The Simpsons was on.
Again, fantastic name.
Yeah, Goldie Rocks. The thing about that was this is in that era where everybody would have a cool name.
Yeah, Wolfgang.
Yeah, like stuff like that. So her name was Goldie Rocks. There was another guy, and he's still like one of my all-time favorite announcers. My favorite show ever was the afternoon show on that station. It was Drive Time with Matt and Jake. Matt Mahler and Jake Daniels. What a show, eh?
Wow.
Amazing. So
not better than Iron Mike Benson.
Yeah. So
may he rest in peace. Yeah.
They had that evening show with Goldie Rocks, and I called to request it, and she just tore into me. Just made fun of me for like 5 minutes. And it was like, The Simpsons is back from commercial. I gotta go. Click, and hung up the phone. And I was like, wow, what a job. That was my reaction. That is so cool.
You do that for a living?
Yeah. So like I decided then, I'm like, how do I make this happen? And I remember there was this guy, Jeff Orcus, in my class, and I was talking with that that's what I wanted to do. And he said, he goes, like, you're not even the funniest guy in this classroom. you got to be like one of the funniest people in the city to be on the radio. You're never gonna make it. I'm not an openly competitive person. I'm a silently competitive person. I like to go away and do my own thing and then come back and having improved a lot without anybody realizing it. So I sort of like had this like mentality that I'm going to do this. I'm going to succeed and you can't stop me. And so I ended up actually dropping out of high school like a few months after that anyway. And I was working in a restaurant and I remember like working in a restaurant being like, oh, this sucks. This is the worst. And my dad said that they were moving to Nova Scotia and that if I wanted to come with them, I could, but I had to go back to school. But if I stayed there, you're done. Just figure it out. You're on your own then, kid.
Yeah.
You're 18 now. Figure it out. And I'm like, okay. So I went back to school. I went with him to Nova Scotia and I went back to school. And then I went to broadcasting school. And I dropped out of broadcasting school a few months after getting into that too. I'm a real success story, guys.
Yeah. Stay in school, kids.
Because I dropped out. So what happened was, this college was Nova Scotia Community Colleges, NSCC, and it was a 4-semester program. So your first semester, you were just working on the college station. Your second semester, you would get trained to do overnights on the local AM country station.
Mm.
It wasn't a guarantee that you were going to get any work. Your third semester, if you were radio on air, you would be doing scheduled overnights once every 2 weeks on this AM country station. And in your fourth semester, you would go and get an internship. So I'm not openly competitive, but I don't like people lauding stuff over me.
Mm.
I'll react and I'll go do things. And so what happened is I had some friends and there's still some people that I talk to. To be honest, I think a lot of my perceived outcastitude is really just in my head. No one really thought I was an idiot. I just assumed they did. So I went to.
That's a Canadian thing, though.
Yeah.
It's a comedy, satirical, you know, demigrate yourself, you know, kind of idea. That's what makes us successful, you know. Yeah.
But I went to the local cluster where this AM country station was, and there's also an FM station there called Magic 97. Today's hottest music mix.
It's Magic
so
95 now, is it?
Magic 94.3.
94.3, sorry.
Yeah. Amanda Meisner works there, who I adore. And we went to college together, actually.
Right, shout out to Amanda.
Shout out to Amanda Meisner. So I went to the cluster like 2 or 3 months into school with my college demo tape. And I went there and I talked to the program director. There's a dude named Darren Harvey. And I went and I talked to him. And I was like, hey, man, I want to do overnights on the country. I went into them to tell them I wanted to be on the air. And Darren, like, I firmly believe this guy, Darren Harvey, could have been a massive name in Canadian media. But he chose to stay in Kentville because he's a Valley boy. He's from the Annapolis Valley. He didn't want to leave. He's still there. He works in New Minas at K-Rock, owned by Stingray down there.
Wow.
Awesome guy. Love him. The best. He's still the guy that I call all the time. Gave me some of the best career advice I've ever gotten in my life. And he's like, he tells me that he was amazed at my gall for being willing to just come in and just give me a job, man. Like, he goes, I just wanted to like see how you'd react. So I sat down and he talked with me, and I sat in his office for like 2 hours, and we didn't even listen to my demo tape. We didn't even listen to the tape that I brought in. And then he said, he goes, so what are your goals? I'm like, I'm going to do mornings at the Edge in Toronto. And I know that everybody comes in, everybody says that they're going to do it, but I'm telling you straight up right now, I'm going to do it. I don't care what anybody else says. I will go to Toronto and I will do mornings. It's going to happen. And I'm going to be number one in Toronto. It's happening within the next 10, 15 years. And he goes, okay, all right. He's like, oh, this is cool. And he goes, he says what struck him was that I said within 10 to 15 years.
It's like
and
a
most people would be
realistic
like,
kind of time.
yeah, everyone
yeah.
will come in and be like, oh, in like 2 or 3 years, I'll probably be in Toronto. You gave yourself this realistic goal. And so before I left, he didn't put me on overnights on the country station. He put me overnights on the FM station and trained me for evenings.
Ah.
And when I went back to the college, no one was happy.
Well,
Like,
'cause you've got all
none
this
of,
experience now, right?
yeah, like
Yeah.
the other people in the program. And when I say like they weren't happy, that's not me saying, oh, he's too good. No, they hated me. They're like, what an egotistical bastard this guy is. And to be honest, it kind of was. And so I took my demo tape from there, and then I went to work in Port Hawkesbury. I got a full-time job at this small station in Port Hawkesbury. 1015 The Hawk is what it was called.
Makes sense.
And I worked there full-time. And the thing was, is if you get success early and it comes quick and no one's there to keep you in line, you get an ego. And I got an ego, and I got a big mouth, and I thought I was the coolest fucking guy ever. And I got myself fired, and they fired me, and they were right in firing me. I would have done the same thing. I was an asshole. I was cocky. I thought I was everything that I would despise now.
Yeah.
But I got fired, and it brought me down a few pegs. And then I was in Northern Ontario. I worked at this like AM easy listening station, and it was so awful, and it was so horrible. And the first day that I was there, the program director told me that I was oh, this is a funny story actually. His name was Richard McCarthy. He told me that I would never work in a bigger market than Dryden. I didn't have the voice and I didn't have the talent, and I needed to just accept that. And as soon as I did, I'd probably be a much happier person. And so
That's a nice guy right there.
dude, I was there for 2 years.
Off you go. Get back to work.
And I'm fair, like you have this thing called a logger tape, right? You got a logger tape and you got to change it at the end of your shift, and it's like a big reel to reel tape. And if you don't change it every 24 hours, you can lose your broadcast license. I didn't change it.
And the other DJs get really mad at you when you forget to do it. Yeah.
I didn't change it 3 days in a 2-week period. I just didn't change it. And I'm convinced that I was trying to get fired without realizing I was trying to get fired. Because when they fired me, I was devastated. Like, just devastated. And I was just wrecked emotionally. And then I woke up the morning after being like, oh, thank God I never have to go into that place ever again. And like, I was just this wave, and it was weird because things weren't magically good right away. They were pretty shitty for like a few months after that. But it set me up for the success that I found within 6 months. So within 6 months of getting fired from that station. So I got fired from that station at the end of March. And
just go back. What year is this again?
It's 2001.
2001. Okay.
So I got fired from there. And then I end up going to Winnipeg and Power 97. And Power 97, this, like, you ever notice how the world, like, the timing is really serendipitous, right?
Everything happens for a reason, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And then I was in Winnipeg, and the evening guy at Power 97 in Winnipeg, who'd been there for years, this dude named Dick Rivers, got fired.
Richard.
He got Yeah, Dick Rivers, Richard Rivers.
Another fantastic name.
Richard. Yeah, Dick Rivers. Dick Rivers. And Dick Rivers was like a legend, okay? A legend in Winnipeg. Beloved.
For radio, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he had a pizza place. He also had a pizza place.
I got to tell you, that name, that's pretty transferable to a couple other industries I know.
Yeah, Dick Rivers. And the thing, it's perfect for Winnipeg because, like, Winnipeg is like the river city, right? Dick Rivers. He's the Dick from the River City. Like, it's perfect.
It just works.
Yeah. So he got fired, and there's an opening on overnights at the station. And so I'm applying and I go in, dude, I go in every day for like 3 weeks with a new demo disc and a new resume. And I'm going in every day. And every day I go in and they tell me, oh, Steve's busy. Can't see you. And Steve is the program director. Steve Parsons is his name. And he's like, oh, he's too busy. Can't see you. Oh, he's too busy. Can't see it. So I go in every day with a new resume that I've printed off and a new demo disc. And every day I go in and I'm cutting stuff almost every cutting new stuff for them, cutting a new demo. And I'm going in and nothing. Get shut down at the door, shut down at the door, shut down at the door. And then I end up getting a job at a coffee shop called Roca Jack's, which was right north of Assiniboine Park on Portage Avenue. And there's still a cafe there. I think the cafe there is now called the Sunstone. It's the best spot. It's right by Assiniboine Park. Beauty location. And so this is like June now. I get a job offer and to work at this cafe. And so I got to go into the cafe to work. So, but I got to drop off my demo because my goal isn't to work at the cafe; it's to work at the radio station.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
So I got the job at the cafe, and then I go to the radio station, and I go at a different time than I normally go. I went later, and so I went later. And when I went to the front desk, the woman who was normally at the reception desk wasn't there. The woman who was there is this woman named Diane Forsberg. And when I go up to the desk, I'm like, hey, and I'm holding the demo disc and I'm holding the resume. She's like, holy shit, you're the guy. I am the guy. And she's like, it's like, you're the guy that keeps coming in all the time with the demos. And I'm like, yes, that's me. She's like,
I'm glad I'm famous for that.
She's exactly like, I'm the guy that nobody wants to deal with. So, and bear in mind, at the time, I got like super long hair. Like I got long hair at this point. I'm a mess of a human being. Like I really am a mess of a human being. I got long hair. I got this. Do you follow me on Instagram?
Yeah.
The picture that I posted a few weeks ago where it's like drugs and it's just my face.
Oh,
yeah. That is how I looked at that time. Anybody that does, at fearless_Fred on Instagram, that picture. And the thing was my mom sent me that picture with the quotation, no, mom, I don't do drugs.
No, mom, I don't do drugs.
Picture.
Right.
Yeah. It's that picture. Okay. Dude, I'm seeing through time in that picture. But that's how I am when I apply for this job. And Diane Forsberg, she's like, oh my God, the guy. So she calls Steve Parsons on speakerphone and he says that he's too busy. He can't come see me. And then she goes, you're not busy. You're on speakerphone and he just heard you. I'm bringing him to your office. And there was this silence. And he goes,
shit.
Okay, whatever. She brings him
in.
Brings me into his office.
That's a good pep talk. Whatever.
And so his office is down in the basement by the studio, and he's just like sits down and he listens to my demo, and listening to my demo, all I heard was how bad it was and how terrible it was and how this is why he hasn't called me, because and he's like looking at me while he's listening to it, like being like, this,
like
you want to work here with, this is what you do, like you think you deserve to be with this?
That's like the face that Corey had when I joined his brokerage.
Yeah.
Come on.
Really?
You?
So then, this is the best part, is there was bits. I did bits. I wrote bits like prank jokes and all this stuff. And he leans over and he stops it halfway through and goes, yeah, that's enough. So he stops it midway through. And then he goes, listen, you're just not ready to be here, man. You got to go back to another small market. And to this day, I think this moment is one of the most pivotal moments of my life. I leaned forward and I put my hand on his desk. I leaned forward and I just sat and I had I don't even remember if my eyes were open or closed. I just remember I leaned forward and put my hand on his desk. I was like, I can't go back to another small market where all they're going to do is make me read liners and community events. If I'm going to get to the point where I can work in a building like this, I need to learn how to bring my personality onto the air. And I had drinks with Steve about a month ago, and he remembers me saying that. He goes, it was weird to see somebody that young sort of realize that
Yeah.
their talent to do the show is not just to play the music and to read the liners. It's finding a way to use the formatics of radio to bring yourself onto the air. He goes, and you could, he goes, I could really smell the desperation on you. And I thought it was exploitable. So I thought I'd give you a shot. And so my job at the time, and again, this is the serendipity thing. At the time, this was in the transition from CDs to digital music, right? So radio stations.
I'm sorry,
not
what's
radio
a
stations,
CD? What?
compact disc,
Compact. I don't get that. I don't. What?
hard copies. So
Hard. Wait, this Richard Dick Rivers hard copies?
yeah,
That was his first movie?
yeah. So the thing was, labels like Universal, BGM, Sony, all that stuff, they would send out these discs every week, and they included all their releases. And so, you know, songs have radio edits and all that stuff. There'd be like the album cut, the full cut, the short cut, the long cut, the radio cut, and there'd be like 5 or 6 versions of every song that you heard, like everything you heard.
Yeah.
And they would come out once a week.
Do they have the permissions on them? Like I
Oh.
I'd had them sometimes where it's like do not play, right?
Yeah,
or like permissions
sometimes.
for
Sometimes those records weren't even for play. They were to demo the song for the music director, because at this point there wasn't central music programming.
Yeah.
Each station called its own shots. It was amazing. Like, people talk about how like the industry is so much freer now. Anybody can get in. And it's like, it's true. There are less gatekeepers now than there used to be. But good luck making any money in music anymore. Good luck to you.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is at the time, the labels were starting to sense that they were losing money from digital music downloads. This was post Metallica Napster, right?
Oh yeah, long after. Yeah.
So this is like, they're realizing that digital music is impacting. So what they did was they imposed a fee. And the fee was, if you played any song digitally, you had to pay an additional charge. And so the record labels wanted this money paid, and all the radio stations were like, no, we'll just go back to CDs. And they realized that it was costing them more money to have to print and send and press all these CDs than it was to just let them play digital copies.
Right.
So
was this when Wizard was kind of just becoming the big thing in the consoles for the DJs?
It had been around for a while. Like, and when you say Wizard, you mean like the digital programs, digital audio. Like, there was actually what was the name of the program? Saw Pro? No, it wasn't Saw Pro. Scott was the first. Scott was the big one, and Media Touch is the big one now. Everyone uses Media Touch these days. And so there's a few different versions of them out there, and a lot of companies seem to have their own thing that they do. And generally speaking, the ones that look the most antiquated and shitty are the most versatile and easy to use. Like, the ones that have the least amount of bells and whistles on them are usually the best programs. So that serendipity thing was playing into my hands, because now the stations needed somebody in the studio 24 hours a day. And they had just enacted that like the week before that I started applying. So they were burning themselves out of people to run overnight stuff.
Yeah.
So my job was to not even be on the air, but to push buttons and operate pre-recorded voice tracks with CDs from midnight to 6 a.m, Monday to Friday.
Okay.
That was my job.
So when Light 105.7 in St. Catharines used to be in this building called the Core Block Center, and it was moving the studios into what is now the White House of Rock, where 97.7 Hits FM was. I got hired and I did that. I did from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I did exactly that, and I did it for 13 days straight. and
Yeah.
I got fired though because of the same thing. We had a promo CD of Triptych, the Tea Party, and I had I don't remember how 4 minutes and 17 seconds or something to fill right at the end, and normally I had some pretty good freedom to pick what I wanted, right? Obviously you try and pump for the longest ones and do Hotel California so you could run outside and have a
Yeah.
cigarette, right? Like that was the
Disco
shtick.
Inferno, 13 minutes long.
Yeah,
Trust me,
yeah,
that's the one to
exactly.
go.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And so and well, sure enough, it's got Triptych CD. I was a huge Tea Party fan, and I knew the song "The Messenger," the old Dan Lanois poem that was turned
Yeah.
into the song. Gorgeous song, very beautiful. I thought it was soft enough. Apparently, it wasn't, and so I played it, and then it was like 2 days later, I had the phone call. And they're like, "Did you play The Messenger from the Tea Party at like, what is it, like 4 or 17 a.m. or like whatever?"
Yeah.
I go, "Yeah, well, the CD was on the rack. It was with everything else." I was playing
Yeah.
stupid, right? So and he goes, "Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we weren't allowed to play that. That wasn't on our list, and now we've got to pay the label and the band and like all this kind of stuff." And I was like, "I'll write you the $7 check like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
costs." And he's like, "Yeah,
What
yeah,
year was
no, we
this?
got like, oh God, 2000 and I'm gonna say it's 2002,
Probably the
2003.
same
I
exact
don't,
same
yeah,
era, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I questioned the wizard thing because I remember touring the White House of Rock after because I had expected to continue to be the overnight dude at like
Yeah.
105 and I wasn't, but I got to tour the whole thing and they were just really rocking on the wizard thing and Iron Mike was like, "This is the greatest thing ever, you got to see this thing." And it was awesome, it was great, but yeah, I didn't last that I last so my radio career was 13 days straight.
Did
That's
you get to, were you opping voice tracks or did you get to go on air?
I never actually got to go on air. There was a couple moments where it's like, "It's 3:30 a.m. It's light 105's
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and here's the weather." Like I did that, like every now and then, but that
Yeah.
was it though. That's yeah. I never actually
My
got to do like any on air stuff. So
my first on air bit was
yeah.
when
And
the
if
midday guy whose name was Jim Jones, who used to work in where did he work? He started in Ontario. It's like it's east of the city. I forget where, but he started working there. He actually worked with Joanne Wilder. That was her first
okay.
radio job as they
Yeah.
worked together there. And Jim Jones was the midday guy at Power 97. And to this day, he's my all-time favorite announcer to listen to. Like just the voice like butter. He's so cool, man. He's just so cool. And he he didn't do his voice tracks. And when I went in, I was like looking, I was verifying for my voice tracks, and then I called the program director, the assistant program director. I wasn't even allowed to call the program director. I had to call
No,
the
I
assistant.
wasn't either. Mine was
Yeah.
Dave Newman. Dave Newman at
Yeah.
the time. And Dave, if you're listening, I haven't talked to him in 20 years. If Dave Newman's listening, shoot me an email or something to corroborate the
Yeah.
story. So
I
yeah,
know,
because he
knowing the
hired me.
industry,
So
I
yeah.
believe everything that you're saying. I believe everything that you're saying. But the 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 voice tracks weren't in, called Lachlan, and he told me, "Well, you better do some show prep, man." And so then like I went in not expecting to do a show, and then I had to do my first overnight show. And then I just got to do overnights after that. And so the morning show with these guys, BJ and Hal, and they like all the thing about radio is there's lots of protocols that aren't written down that you don't know until you screw up or somebody teaches you. And I would wait, and the morning show would come in, and I would pull all their music, I'd pull all their commercials because they were still on carts because we didn't do anything digital. Everything was carts, everything
Yeah.
was CDs.
Yep.
I'd pull everything, get everything ready for them, and then I wanted to do more. And so they made me their stunt boy. And that's where Fearless Fred came from, was doing stunts for them, was with like the pellet gun, and then with the donuts as Elvis, and then with the Crossinator, which was where they'd hook up like these electric things to me, like a dog collar, and ask me trivia questions. And
Yeah.
just a laundry list of things that would cost you your broadcast license today
Today.
that they did to me. It's like jail. The thing was is that they were so horrible to me on air, but they looked after me. I wanted for nothing. The station giveaway vehicle we were giving away an Escalade was my car for 4 months. I just got to drive it whenever I wanted it. I had to drive him to his bar gigs, then do the overnights, then stunt on the morning show. So I was like living this insane lifestyle.
Oh my
man.
God. Yeah.
And driving the morning guy, Hal Anderson, around, he would teach me all the things that you're not going to learn, like how to deal with clients, how to deal with yahoos. We did a lot of stuff at bars where there was some biker elements there, how to do good with them, how to walk the line, what to say, what not to say, stick with him. If I'm not there, do this, talk to this guy, know who the people are, all these things. And I really feel like it was like Hal Anderson University was like what made me understand how to function in the business as much as I did. And then from Winnipeg, I went to Edmonton. I went to Lloydminster, then back to Winnipeg, then to Edmonton. And when I was in Edmonton, I worked with this guy, Ryan Zimmerman was the program director. And there's a guy who's still on air named Yukon Jack, because he was the last of that era of radio name people.
Yeah.
And Yukon was on the morning show, and Yukon really taught me so much more. Like it was like Hal Anderson was the first year, second year, and then working with Yukon was like my master's, like learning everything else. And by the time I came to Toronto in 2009, and when I came to Toronto, Edge was like, it was chaos. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. It was like this surreal world. And I'm glad I came when I did, with the tools in my tool belt and the tools in my toolbox, because I knew how to handle myself in that
I was gonna
environment.
say, yeah.
And I didn't get lost in it, and I didn't view it as anything other than window dressing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that get caught up in that. Like, there's a lot of debauchery that goes on. There's a lot. And I had been taught how to deal with it, and I had kept myself busy enough that I didn't get suckered into any of the negative elements. And Dean and I still talk all the time. And I remember Dean always saying that he didn't need to ever worry about me. Like, he needed to worry about me because there was a lot of backlash when I came because of what happened with Martin Streak and the firing of Barry Taylor and stuff. And these were things I didn't know was going to happen. I didn't know that they were getting rid of Barry Taylor, and I didn't know that they were getting rid of Martin Streak. Nobody had told me about any of this. Nobody had warned me about any of this. All of a sudden, when the ball started rolling, when things started going into motions, like everything started going really fast, I accept the job offer, I sign the contract, and my understanding of things at the time was that nothing was going to be said. Nothing was going to be done. But then the company I was working for in Edmonton, Astral, announced that I was leaving and they were hiring for my spot. And when that happened, phones were going nuts. Websites were going nuts, because then Chorus had to act. So Chorus let go Barry, let go Martin. That's just the way the business goes. And to be honest, I'm not really sure what was going on behind the scenes. To this day, I still don't know, because the people that were involved at that time on the management level have retired or left.
Long gone,
Yeah, like this was 15, 16 years ago. It was a long time ago, man.
That was before children.
Yeah, dude,
Jesus.
It was like I still had sideburns, man.
I had hair.
Yeah,
Believe that.
So,
believe that. I know it's unbelievable for those at home.
Yeah. And then everything went down, and when I got to Toronto, like there was a lot of backlash, there was a lot of negativity, a lot of anger, and I was very mad. I was really mad about it. Like, I was upset, and I was upset because it's like, at my very first job interview, I said I was going to work at this station. I said I was going to work there. I'd had this goal for over a decade of coming there and working there.
Yep.
And then you get it. And as soon as you get it, you're being attacked constantly by people who don't think you deserve it. People that don't know you. They don't know what you've been through. They don't know where, all they know is they've read a sentence about you on the internet, and therefore they know you don't deserve it. And you're to blame for everything bad that happened in the process. All the shuffling of things is all your fault. You take it. It's like, I had nothing to do with any of these things, but I took heat for it, and it was pretty brutal. But that was the thing when I say that, like, this is why I love Dean to this day, is because there was lots of kindness. I remember Josie Dye was actually super awesome. There was this one time where we were doing like a bar gig at this one bar, and the bar promoter, she was like from this promotion company, and it was Josie and I were sharing it, right? And so I did it one night, and then I remember it was weird because I did it the night, and there felt like something weird, felt like something a little bit off. And then the next week, Josie did it, and it's like I'm like working, I'm writing. I think I was writing the very first Teuton comic, to be honest. And the phone rings, and it's like 12:30 at night, and it's Josie. I'm like, what the shit is she doing calling me? Oh, I answered it, and she's drunk, and she lost her mind about how this woman working at this production promo company just shit talked me the whole time. How I'm the worst, and I'm this asshole, and I murdered Martin Streak, and I got Barry fired, and I'm like the shittiest guy. Da 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 da.
I've been here for 3 days.
Yeah, and Josie's like, she goes, I told her to go fuck herself, and then I took her money and left. And I'm like, she's like, we're not doing that bar gig. We're done. We're never going there again, ever. Done. Boycotted. I'm gonna shit talk them on the air. And I'm coming from Edmonton, where the client is king. Like, in my head, I gotta just go back the next week and do this woman who clearly hates me.
Yeah, clearly
and I gotta
hates
work. And that's the job.
Smile. Yeah,
Oh, hey, I know you hate me, but I'm gonna do the best job I can. But no, like, I was not used to that. Like, and so like there was this solidarity. Like she was like, she shit talk one of us. We're not going there ever again. Da 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 da. And then Dean caught wind of it, and Dean ramrodded them on the air. Da da da. Done with that place. They're the worst. They're garbage. I don't give a shit about them. Da 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 da. And I always loved Dean and Josie as well, but I think Dean was more vocal about it. I dealt with Dean more because he's also from Alberta, so there's this like connection.
Okay, yeah.
And Dean also took I think it's also because Dean took a lot of shit when he started, and there was like an affinity and a connection of like he got it, he understood what I was going through, he understood what it was like, and so there was a real camaraderie that I had with him from the get-go. And there's like so many frustrating things that happened over the course of that time. Like when Jason got let go, I was really upset. When Bookie left, I was upset too. There's a constant stream of things that were frustrating that were happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty wild time, man. It was very surreal.
So you're in. So at this point now, you're in 102.
Corey, you asked one question, and here I am. I'm
there
sorry,
you go,
man.
Yeah, but
you ran with that one.
But you ran with it. Yeah, you
could
know
have
what?
cut me off. You could have cut me off.
That's fine. You know what? Like this is
like. No, I just think it's such a fucking awesome tale of perseverance. You know, all the shit, and you just gotta keep plowing forward, man. And that's what it's all about.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to make it sound like War and Peace. It was a good time.
Yeah. But this is kind of also like the, we actually talked about this, with Dave again yesterday and a couple other people. This is kind of the vibe that we kind of do is, if anybody that's watched us like on the YouTube, it's hard to get that just on Spotify and Apple and stuff. But if you see on YouTube, it's an intro and it's the whole interview and then it ends. And if it's an hour long, great. If it's 30 minutes long, it's great. It's 2 hours long. It's just the raw shit. Like that's kind of what we like about it, right? Like that's the deal.
That was all from the heart. It was awesome.
Yeah, right? Exactly. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we want to hear, right? So, I mean, yeah, we're a real estate podcast, but fuck it, you're on.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we go. So, so Corey was actually going to take this question, but I'm going to steal it from him. And it's part of your house because, and there's a reason for this though. So you're a hot pepper aficionado, right? And you at your own home do a lot of your own harvesting. In some of it in your own backyard, some of it in your front yard. So
I lost the front yard. We can talk about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we're gonna go on forever again. And the reason being is because on New Year's Eve, I became a member of the DeBaum family. I regret every moment of it, but it was pretty awesome. We followed it up with the Last Dab, the Apollo.
Oh.
and which is supposed to have a higher Scoville than De Bomb, but because the De Bomb is it's the oil, it's the
Yeah.
concentration of the capsaicin oil. It boom, does it hit you?
That's the
It's
thing.
so
Like
bad. We'll put
oil,
it
like caps.
we'll put it this way. I did the bomb. I did it with my brother-in-law, and it was so bad that we did the Apollo after as a test, and that was so bad. We did the bomb again to see which one was actually the worst. And so that was a rough like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I won't lie. But so that's where we are. So for those that don't know, you know, Fred is quite he's got the green thumb and he does a lot of hot pepper stuff. Again, follow him on Instagram. Um
Yeah, my
and
baby.
yeah, and I mean, so that as us wanting to talk about people's houses and stuff, it's a really cool gig that you got going on at your own place. That you do gardening like normal
Yeah.
people, but
So
rock star style. I mean, this is like no,
my
I don't grow corn. I go fucking Carolina Reapers, bitches, right?
yeah.
Like
So I like it's beets. I like to grow beets.
Yeah.
It beets, beans. Um, I do like to do zucchini, especially in the summer because a zucchini plant will give you like 8 billion zucchinis, and then you can grill them, and they're amazing.
And there's so much you can do
Um,
with it too, right?
hot peppers, and I did horseradish the past few years, but I've moved on to garlic. I'm
Okay.
really big into garlic right now. Growing lots of garlic,
Yeah.
so I've got these.
Listen,
I
garlic makes the world go round. So
It's all sun. It's all dependent on the sun, and so different parts
yeah, yeah.
of my yard get different levels of sunlight. And I've noticed that I can get really good peppers in the backyard depending on where I situate them. So I have my house faces like sort of it faces southwest.
Okay.
And so the front garden gets like I always call it the anvil of the sun, which is a term I stole from Lawrence of Arabia when they refer to the desert as the anvil of the sun. And it's like 24-hour sunlight all the time.
Yeah,
But the
so yeah.
backyard, if you plant farther away from the house and you put the taller vegetables closer to the house so they don't get in the way of the sunlight that's coming down, you can get really great sun on them. And then over on the far side, I've got these little planters that run along the fence. And those ones, you got to make sure you're aggressively watering because they just get like oppressive sun. So I keep the garlic over there on the side of the fence and it explodes. Like it's like elephant garlic because of how much sunlight it gets. When you can harvest it and it's golden, it's great.
Is
And the
that
peppers
actually a
are,
thing? Elephant garlic? Because I know the rooster garlic. I know that that's a thing, but is elephant
I just
garlic actually a
I
thing?
just use it as a term for when they get really big. Like the garlic that I'm growing is
You
like the
could
size of an onion.
you got to trademark that. You got to call it
Yeah,
elephant
so
garlic.
it's
Yeah,
big, like it's
yeah.
big. And so I bought like two bulbs from this woman that my wife works with who gardens all the time. She's a big homesteader, she calls herself. And which is a term that people like throw around all the time. But I had that like all that garlic and then the amount of garlic I got from it. So I just picked the ones that were like really good. I planted all that, got that all in there.
We
Fantastic.
you have the experience, I guess, with the picking of the hot peppers, and okay, this one's going to
Yeah.
be amazing, and this one's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I harvest the seeds too with the peppers too. So all the peppers that I'm growing are from the seeds that I've got, like seeds that
Amazing.
I've acquired from other plants.
I'm just saying
And so,
my birthday's coming up in July, which is
well, if you come by my table,
I'm
and I
just saying.
know you're coming by my table at the convention, I will give you a little jar
In Toronto or
of
San Diego? Because I'll go to both.
Toronto, the
Toronto,
Toronto
okay.
one, the jar of the pepper. But the problem was is last year was a weird summer. My peppers didn't turn. They didn't fully ripen like I wanted them to. What I ended up having was like a lot of green peppers. And it wasn't just me. I know a lot of people whose peppers didn't fully ripen. I got a really good harvest, but not as much as I would have liked. I also did a lot of jalapenos last year, which was really good.
Nice.
So I
Do
grew all.
do you think that's because we had like really long stretches of just sun and dry last year?
I don't know what it was. I think it didn't get warm until like it was weird
Was it
temperature
late?
wise. It
Yeah, kind of hung
stunted
out
some
for a while.
plants. and then it got hot. But like you're saying, the weather was just really weird last year. There was a few years ago, I think it was this, and it's weird that I remember based on the summers and the temperatures, but the summer of 2016 was like so hot and so dry and so amazing. And I was like, I had a rain barrel, and so like I still have a rain barrel, and I use water from the rain barrel, and I find that water from the rain barrel is way better for the garden. And so I felt like there was like this unbelievable, as soon as the rain barrel was running dry, miraculously, it would rain. And it would get filled up again. And
Bam.
then I was using the rainwater to like water the plants, and that was the best pepper year I think I'd ever had. But last year, I got a really good harvest from the Reapers, and the Trinidad Scorpions always grow great. Like if anybody wants to experiment with like hot peppers, the Trinidad Scorpion is like, it's in the top 5. Maybe it's not even in the top 5 anymore, but it's hot enough you're not gonna know the difference unless you're a competitive pepper eater. I'll put it that way. It's well over 1 million Scovilles.
Yeah.
Those ones are big. It's especially the hot chocolate Trinidad Scorpion.
Yeah.
The variety, it's like a lot of yield. It's this dark, rich brown color to it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful plant. My favorite pepper to grow is the Thai Dragon. The Thai Dragon is a finger pepper. So you got your bell peppers and your finger peppers. Your bell peppers are the ones that are like, they're bigger and bloopier and they hang down. So your Carolina Reapers, that's a bell pepper. Your Trinidad Scorpion bell pepper. Bell peppers are bell peppers. They all hang down like that, right?
Yeah. For those that are looking for maybe more of a visual that don't know, picture a jalapeno. Or sorry,
jalapeno is a bell pepper.
Yeah.
That's a bell pepper, the way it grows.
Yeah.
Finger peppers are ones that grow out. They point out, like cayenne peppers, Hunan peppers. Those are all finger peppers. They're smaller, they're thinner, and they're pindalier.
Yeah.
And so
the Thai chili, a good
example. A Thai chili pepper, but like a Thai Dragon is a very specific type. And the way they grow, and they're about this long, they're a little thin, and they turn bright red on the plant. And the plant is beautiful. It is a beautiful looking plant. Like, it's almost ornamental. It's so nice to look at. And each individual like Thai Dragon plant will give you like 100 peppers. It's amazing. Insane the amount of, they're so good. They grow about 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall tops, just peppers everywhere. And it's like a Christmas tree. It's like so many of these bright red peppers. That's my absolute favorite pepper. It's about as hot as a habanero.
Okay.
But it is like very sweet. It is a very sweet flavor. Like you can bite it, you can taste the sweetness.
So if you can do spice, it's really tolerable. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. My favorite pepper. Favorite pepper to cook with. Favorite pepper, everything.
Okay. What happens when the raccoons eat this stuff?
No, they stay away.
They won't. Yeah, no, they won't eat that.
They'll stay away from those. Yeah. And there's a thing that I use to keep pests out. You can go to a hunting store, right? And you can buy wolf piss.
Oh yeah.
And the thing with wolf piss is you give it a squirt in the corners around your garden. Nothing is coming near your garden. Nothing. Everything will stay away. They know to stay away. When it rains, you got to go out and reapply because it'll get diluted. But nothing is coming near your house.
Hot tip. No, that's awesome.
Whose job is it to source wolf piss?
I don't know. They get it at the hunting store. That's where they get it. So it's good for me.
For those
interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so for those watching on YouTube, I'm literally writing down wolf piss.
Literally, they call it wolf urine or lupine urine. They give it a fancy name. It's wolf piss. That's what it is. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Tequila is still dragon sperm, right? But
yeah.
That's amazing.
Like in
Sheldon,
reality, yeah.
What are your thoughts here? We've had Fred for quite a while. You've been such a gracious guest and shared so much awesome stuff with us. Is there anything you want to promote? Why don't you tell us real quickly? And we talked about it early on about Mud79.
If you're a Star Wars fan, I got a radio play called Mud79, and it's like Star Wars meets Platoon. If you're familiar with Star Wars, it's set 5 years after the end of the Clone Wars. and it's right in that transition from Republic to Empire. And there's this guy whose family all fought for the Republic, which is now the Empire, and he's on this distant farming planet, doesn't want to be a farmer, doesn't want to be a mechanic on the launch pad, so he joins the Imperial Army just to get away, and he winds up on this planet fighting in this conflict that you've never really heard of. Galaxy's a big place, and it is just bad, and he's not having a good time. Straight up, not having a good time, bro.
But it's a fabulous story, though, and it's done
I
by
think
you.
it's great.
Yeah.
And the production value is insane. I think the production value is like, you're not going to hear anything on this level. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
So okay, so my major question is, how much of your drink do you have left?
About a third.
About a third. Okay, so we're gonna continue. Corey, I love you. You are a Paul of France alum.
I am.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me how did that come to be, and what did he do? I'll also link Fearless Fred's actual address and geolocation, so you can all go to his house and tour the backyard.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I had so I was working at the Edge. I was working at the Edge in Toronto, and they were doing promotion for Disaster Decks.
Disaster Decks, yeah.
Yeah, and so he was coming into the studio. And when he came in, I knew what I wanted to ask because these were things that I needed to fix on my own deck. And so when he came in, I did the usual, tell us about the show, how does it work, when can people apply, blah, 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 blah. But I was then asking questions about me for things that I needed fixed on my deck. How do I do this? Why do people do this? If somebody has this problem, what do they do? And then after we did the interview, he goes, you were asking very specific questions. I'm like, that's because my deck is a piece of shit. I need to get it fixed. And he goes, and he's like, how much of a piece of shit? And I'm like, bad enough. And he goes, okay, would you like to be on the show? I'm like, would I like to be on the show? So one of the guys that worked on Disaster Decks, his brother-in-law, Pat, lived down the street from me, came over, took a look at the deck, and then was like, this needs to go, that needs to go, that needs to go. We'll fix this. And so I sabotaged my deck even more to get onto the show. Then we did the show. And the thing that was interesting is that I asked them, can I help? And they're like, well, you have to help for the show. So we're going to film some shots on 1 or 2 days and you're going to be there for this and that. And I'm like, no. Can I be there the whole time? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like as a helper, so I can learn things. I want to learn.
Yeah.
And so then I was there helping them do the deck because I just wanted to learn. I'm not done. I'm getting the look. So I think
Love you, honey.
Leave soon. But yeah, so I was there and I was helping them do the deck and learning how to use all the tools and whatnot. And because when do you get an opportunity to work with actual legitimate professionals?
Never.
Not very often.
Yeah.
So I was out there and I was helping them with the deck, and it was awesome because I learned so much. And the thing was when we were filming the things where I have to look like an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing, I had already learned how to do the things they're making me do badly because I was having to learn on the go with them. So yeah.
So you had to unlearn just for video.
You have to unlearn what you think.
Unlearn it.
Yeah.
You and Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Peace have that in common. He was he was on the show as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's got a way crazier deck than I would have. I would wager, given where he lives, way out in the middle of nowhere and whatnot.
Oh well, he's I don't know if he wants me to say where he is now, but he's
don't say anything.
No,
honestly, can I say he's one of the you meet so many people in this business, and he is one of the best humans that I think I've ever met. And I say that not in the sense that he's a rad, cool dude always saying funny things. He is, but he is a genuinely good human being, and there's not a lot of them out there.
He is a genuinely good human being, and this isn't to name drop or anything, but we shared a few beers in my kitchen, and I had never met him before in person. I've met him all the time on the computer, for half an hour once a week. And I never met him in person. He was just like, yeah, sure, I'll come over and go. We live close to each other, but and we just shot the shit for like 3 hours. And
Yeah.
he's like, same thing, like, when he and I like are online for like half an hour, 45 minutes, we honestly talk for like 39 of them, and like a minute of it is like business. So
Yeah.
he's such a great dude. Yeah, I can't say enough nice things about that guy. But cool that you guys have that in common with the whole disaster decks and stuff. And yeah, he's great. But his wife is a designer as well. It's designed they're like Wilcox home, and then
I
the
will
home
say that I can roof.
so,
like I'm a really good roofer because I did roofing when I was working.
My first radio gig. People that can roof got a little bit of a loose screw.
One of the guys that I did roofing with on the crew, he did a tour in Vietnam, and then he was supposed to go back because he did an early tour in Vietnam, and they wanted to send him back, and he fled. He ran over the border. He came to Canada, and he's been working in Cape Breton ever since. Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
He had some good stories.
Unbelievable.
You don't want to have a Vietnam flashback on top of a roof, though.
No.
Well,
we hope not.
What's weird was, like, I remember the guys that I was working with, a lot of them thought that guy was like really kind of like scary, but I was like 19 at the time, and I thought he was like one of the coolest dudes ever. I would just ask him fucking questions.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing was, is I never pestered him. I'd be like, what was this like? And then he would just talk, and I would listen, and we just.
Right on.
And then I'd bring him shingles because he was way better at shingling than I was, and I had a way better back than he did, so I did a lot more carrying than he did. It was a very symbiotic relationship.
Did he have the roll machine with a little the small like 3/4 power motor up you set it onto the ladder and it would shoot you up to the top of the roof?
This is Cape Breton.
Oh, this is just over the shoulder climbing up. Yeah.
This is like the youngest guy on the crew, like 2 stacks of shingles on one shoulder going up, tossing him. 2 stacks of shingles on the shoulder going up, tossing him.
Not these modern day pussy shit.
Modern day stuff, yeah, exactly. I got a little place in Borden, Carlton, and PEI, and we're getting the roof done sometime this month or the next month. All the shingles are in and stuff. We're just waiting for it. But oh my god, like, bless those people. Like, geez, there's a 1,018.72% tougher than those of us in Southern Ontario that do construction. There's no comparison,
It's the land that time forgot, but I love it so much. But I do have to go. I got
to
go, man.
You get yelled at. Listen, thank you so much, man. We really, really appreciate it. You're awesome.
Anytime, dudes. You guys have a good one.
You too, buddy.
Take care.
I'll see you at Comicon, man.
Let me know. Like, message me before you go, and I'll bring you peppers.
I will, absolutely.
Okay, good.
100%, man.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.